I got 4 things. 1, prices that go up do not come back down. Chipotle put their prices up 4%. They ain't bringing them back down, right? Every single one of these businesses that increase prices, they're not coming back down. That's real inflation. That rate of change inflation, that's fine. That's great for people in the financial community to talk about. But the real impact, it's not going back. The second thing is that when you think about the supply chain absolutely has issues. There's backed up ships in LA. There's all sorts of issues. But a lot of the supply chain issues were driven because they gave everyone free money, and then they went and they spent the money and they jacked up demand, and the supply chains weren't ready to handle it, so they broke the supply chains. That's the second thing. The third thing, and I think one of the pieces that everyone continues to forget here, is that they are going to continue to try to tell you not to believe the numbers, and they're going to try to continue to manipulate the numbers. Yesterday, President Joe Biden literally came out. He knew what the number was going to be. And he came out and he said, tomorrow when you see the number, you got to remember that that doesn't incorporate the energy prices have already been coming down. Like, they're telling you don't believe the number. But in fact, you shouldn't believe the number. But not because they're overshooting or overstating it. It's because they're understating it. And the last thing, and the thing that I think is the most important, is I continuously get people, they DM me, they email me, they call me, they text me, and they say, Pomp, I saw you and your brothers talking about inflation. What should I do? And they keep thinking about it from an investment standpoint. And there's a bunch of things you can do there. But the number one thing that you can do, and I'm basically pleading with people at this point, please, 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 if you do not own equity, or you do not have some sort of profit share, or you do not have some sort of upside in your employment situation, please take these inflation numbers, go to your boss and say, hey, I don't know how to really have this conversation, but what I do know is that the inflation is now 6.8%, which means I'm making less money today than I was last year. I understand that you guys may not be thinking about pay raises or some sort of change to the pay scale, but inflation is so bad that I need you to help me out. What can we do so that I can increase my pay? All I want is to simply be able to have the same purchasing power that I had last year. I'm not asking to get paid more money so that I can go buy a boat or go on vacation or buy a new house. All I'm asking is that you afford me the opportunity to come to work here every day. I do a great job for you all. And you continue to allow me to withstand the exact same living situation. Because if you don't pay me more in dollar terms, I have less purchasing power, and I'm actually getting a degradation of my living quality. And so if you bring them the inflation data and you say, I need a raise, but I need a raise simply to be able to combat inflation, that'd be 7%. If they want to help you out even more, you may be able to get as high as 10%, which for many people would be very meaningful change to their financial situation. So if you want to do this, my suggestion is you take the inflation data, put it on your boss's calendar or get a meeting, and then do not ask for the raise to start next week. Instead, say to them, we're coming up on the end of the year. Can you please walk me through the plan as to how we go from where I am now to the pay raise? And in many cases, the business will have to plan in advance. They'll have to say, hey, well, you know what? We're not gonna be able to get to that till the end of Q1. That may not be a good answer, or maybe it is a good answer for you. That's for you to decide. But asking is the key right now, because you don't get what you don't ask for, and you have the single greatest argument in the world right now for a raise, which is that inflation is 6.8%. So go ask for a raise.
I don't think bosses are going to be really willing to give out raises, unfortunately, right? Because their margins are getting squeezed so bad. There's 11 million open jobs right now in America. So go find a new job if they say no, right? Make sure to find one before you leave your current job so you're not in a tough situation where you start having to dip in your savings, your emergency fund, right? The best time to find a job is when you have a job. But I don't think bosses are handing out raises as easily as people say.
But that's the point, is the job market is so competitive right now from an employer standpoint. You have to give people a 10% raise, depending on kind of how much it is on a notional amount, is much better for a manager in a lot of situations, call it the average job in America, than it is to go in the opportunity cost of switching, right? The amount of money and time and effort it takes to go find someone that does a similar job. And that has to do with quality, that has to do with recruitment, that has to do with onboarding, that has to do with everything, right? And maybe they're not even as good at the job, but ultimately a lot of managers, I think people would be surprised at, a 5% raise, a 7% raise, a 10% raise is usually a much better option for them than you saying, okay, I'm going to go get a different job given the job market today.